Welcome to another episode of Delivering the Experience with Umair Khan. And I hope you have enjoyed last few weeks of your life. And whatever you've been doing, you're taking care of things, be it work, be it your business, or be it any growth opportunities that you've been looking at. Now, coming back to what Delivering the Experience is about, today's guest is someone who I've seen starting his business. And I've seen him succeed, get to that level where he has been recognized by different platforms within the city. And that does not come easy because we only see the tip of the iceberg. And that tip mostly tells us, sheds light on the achievements, the success, the glory. But what we don't see is all the hard work, all the resilience, all the persistence that goes into that. And if you add with that the personality of the individual in terms of how humble someone is and how down to earth that person goes about taking care of their business, then you've got someone who you absolutely have to talk about. And I was fortunate enough when I asked this gentleman and that, hey, really want to talk to you about how you've done this and how you've been doing this. He was really very kind and just saying yes. So finally, we have one of my good friends. I've known him for a few years, and he has seen success because of his commitment, because of his humble personality, the way he talks and goes about his work, and just how he's done everything. So today on Delivering the Experience, we welcome Nadim Ahmed, and he represents venturex, the co-working space, the ecosystem. Welcome, Nadim. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Mary, for the nice introduction. Someday I'll learn how to talk like you as a DJ, or but for now, you'll have to deal with what I say right now.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thank you for being over. So let's get right into it. I have been looking at how you started and how you have gotten to this point. And recently, you were acknowledged for you received some recognition. So how that journey began.
Sure. Just to kind of give people some structure on what I do, just a little briefly. venturex is a co-working space, right? So the core of it, we were renting office space, but it's really the business is real estate and adding to its full service. So for business owners, they don't have time to worry about real estate, about furniture, capital, internet, debt from owning a building or leasing a building. Even there is actually a debt. So all these like small little things, even now with COVID, the cleaning procedures, what's right, what's wrong. So there's just so many things that goes into it, and as you see, we tend to specialize more and let people who are good at what they're doing do their job. So businesses have been hiring out their real estate part, and just like, especially with COVID now, they don't want to own anything. They just let people like us come in, take care of their offices, work and flexible workspaces and things like that, and they just do their business. So that's really what we provide, is real estate with a full service. And so you know I started this back in 2018. Obviously my little background is similar to maybe a lot of you guys. Like always, parents wanted, I did electrical engineering, then worked for a little bit, of course, and then did my MBA, checked the boxes. A lot of it, I figured, I think it was like a lot of waste of time, honestly. But MBA was actually a good program, but I think the engineering, I'm kind of going off topic, but engineering itself, like, it wasn't practical to real life knowledge. I mean, I learned all those stuff in engineering, but I did mostly PowerPoints, Excel, and Outlook. So I could have just got training in those three and I'd be fine. So, I always wondered, as a business owner, what if I had started this when I was 18 and did this? I would be so much better at what I'm doing now, instead of going through I took school seriously. So instead of going through all that school, getting good GPAs and all that stuff, And then coming to find out that you don't really need to work that hard to be a good at corporate, right? You just have to be good politically, and as long as your boss likes you. So I mean, which I learned pretty quickly, and I just did that. I didn't have to really produce anything meaningful, which I was good at my job. I got raised and all that stuff, but I just it wasn't fulfilling for me. It was like I'm just doing this just to impress the higher ups. It wasn't really producing anything. Um, so it wasn't fulfilling. I wanted to, as Muslims, we think about the afterlife of like, where hopefully, inshallah, we get to Jannah and things like that. But I also want to do something while we're gifted this life. I want to do something meaningful with this life also. It's not. I don't see it as like let's just this could be controversial, just like uh, fast and pray all day and then wait for our death, right? I mean, when I'm here, I want to do something meaningful with it. And I see business as a way of creating value for people. Yes, it's making me money, but people will only give me money if I give them value, right? Versus a nonprofit, you're only giving value, but you're not getting money back, and which I think is non-sustainable, right? You always have to get fundraising, like even in masjids, right? You always have to give them to be sustainable. Inshallah, one day even masjids will get to be somewhat like a business where, I mean, that's another topic, but basically I believe in business, basically give value and then you will get money out of it.
Right.
So that's why I quit my job, started this in 2018, April 2018. I had my third son a week before I did a grand opening, so my wife thought I was a little crazy. So did my family. As Desi families, we were like, I had even my like we had a family gathering, and then my uncle was like, not to put him on the spot, but he was like, I told him about the business plan the day before. The next day, he's like, I couldn't sleep all night. I was thinking about how much money you're putting in, and I thought you were smart, and I expected so much out of you, and like I'm kind of disappointed. I was like, okay, like just I knew what I was doing. Obviously, there's always a risk to everything, but I wouldn't do it any other way. So yeah, my family was pushed back against that, talking about adversity. Um, and then even my wife was supportive, definitely, inshallah, I'm lucky, mashallah, I'm lucky to have her, but she's been very supportive in that she was pregnant, and then I was leaving a job at Children's Health as a business strategy person, um, to do this. So I was leaving health insurance and pensions or whatever else behind, right? For who knows what I was going to get into. And then and mashallah, it worked out well. Even with COVID, I wouldn't, hindsight, I still wouldn't do it any other way. I would have always done this with or without COVID or without any other adversity. So 2018 I opened. 2019 I doubled the size of the place, the business. So now it's about 25,000 square foot. For people not in real estate, 25,000 square foot is probably like a size of a um, you know LA Fitness, I would say, or like a Best Buy. Is about 25,000 square foot, just to get an idea. And then in 20 right before COVID, I was almost nearly full. That's how we measure our success, is the occupancy level. We were at like 92%. Then COVID
Wow.
hit. One of my big clients laid off a bunch of people, so I had they don't need office spaces. So it was empty for a little bit, but luckily, after COVID, I'm back to being full now, and I've already opened a second location, partner with someone on that, and looking at a third one. So it's a lot of work. It's endless work, but it's something meaningful. It's like, instead of just um, just instead of just trying to please my upper level. So
Right.
I enjoy it.
So I appreciate you giving us that backstory. So why specifically this co-working industry?
Yeah.
You obviously you did your homework. How did you go about that? How much time you spent on that? any specific factors you considered, and anyone you received coaching from in that regard?
So, I'm bad at trying to receive coaching or mentoring. I guess as the oldest brother, and then just I came here to America. I'm from India. I came here when was about 7. I came out here. My parents were back in India. I came here and kind of like grew up pretty fast. Taught myself everything. So I was kind of self-reliant, and so I always just try to figure things out myself. Which I know people say, entrepreneurs say that you should have a mentor and all that. There's a lot of smart people out there. I just don't currently have. I have few people that always help me. So I appreciate that. There's your family, your community always helps. So definitely appreciate all that. But then, as far as, um, sorry, your question was
In
about
terms of how long did you plan for?
Oh yeah. So in terms of, my background after my engineering, I did some work in a pharmaceutical company. Then after my MBA, I did more kind of like product management type of taking products into market. We developed a lot of products, and then so the whole product management part of it was me evaluating competition, businesses, seeing what the market is out there for that product, how much money we'll have to spend, how much money we'll make, and once I get approval from the execs, then I launch the product. I take I work with engineers to develop the product and then launch it. And then after that, then my job is done. Then you handle it. Then the different department takes care of it, and I move on to another product. So I was used to that, like looking at competition, the market. And I had been always interested in workspace. Kind of going back to my point of, to me, it's important what you do in this life. And most of our life we spend at work, right? And yes, at home we care about what kind of granite countertops we have, and flooring and things like that. But at work, it doesn't matter. It's like our mentality is go in there, go in and come out as soon as you can, come back home, right? But work work should be an experience, right? I mean, I wasn't. This is not. I'm not the first one to say that. It's been the kind of the millennial thought style, right? Like work should be work from anywhere. Work should be an experience. It should be open. It should feel like more like a Starbucks versus a dentist office, kind of like that. So that was already the trend going. Um, the market I saw a niche for was this co-working was targeted towards tech people. Like it was very garage, dingy, very cool, hip, graffitis in the walls, all that stuff. But then for the people that are professional, like lawyers and accountants, who don't want to necessarily bring their clients to that kind of environment, what about co-working for them? So really, I would call my thing more of like pro working, professional co-working. It's higher end. You don't have the beer on keg and ping pong tables. So it has all the things that traditional offices have, but has the design of a modern place with high ceilings, large windows, glass walls. Every little thing from like the type of luminous on your LED lights to insulation on your walls to the type of furniture we have. It's top of the line Herman Miller, West Elm. So just every little detail, there's just a lot that goes into. Even like meeting rooms now with Zoom, like all the technology that's behind that. We have a system where you connect with the community, where if you want to book a meeting room, you could do that. We even have a video studio for some of the entrepreneurs. Um, Podcast room. We have nap rooms. I mean, people work 24/7. If you need a break, use our nap rooms. We have training rooms. So a lot of different things that goes into this. Even like the type of coffee, um, internet, backup internet, IT security. So all of that is taken into account. But anyway, going back to your question, so when I did the market um, research, there was the WeWorks and the Regis, right? And I was kind of looking in between, and I was familiar with this industry because back I was always like trying different businesses. So one of the businesses I had started a while back was, um, because I was always interested in Workspace. I imported cubicles from Taiwan, and all I did was propose design and CAD designs to companies that were moving. It's like, hey, you need 25 people. Here's a design. What are your company colors? We'll make we'll give you wood cubicles or blue cubicles, whatever, very customized. And then I would tend to win the bid because I'm competing against big companies. So my prices were always lower. So me and a partner was doing it. The partner was really good at like the web marketing and things like that. I had a full-time job also, so he did all that. There, I kind of understood like it was hard to work with a partner because he was focusing on making money, which obviously is a business. That's what you want, but I wanted to grow the business, right? As soon as we made like first month, we made $60,000, which is great. And he spent about half of it on like stuff, right?
Oh, wow.
Like, okay, I can't work like that. So, so after that, I decided I'm going to only do business with silent partners. It's like, I think even in corporate, I realized people just get in people's way, right? Like by the time you explain to them, what are you trying to do? They don't see your vision, or they're not in it minute by minute. They're in there for 10 minutes in a week, and they make a decision out of that. That's not a true, it's not the right decision usually, or sometimes it is. But anyway, so I did the market research, and I looked at the competition, and I had actually joined a franchise. I was one of the first ones to sign a franchise with venturex. Now there's like 50 locations. The reason I did a franchise, I could have done this on my own, but when you look at the competition, there's so many locations. When you go to WeWork, you could go to all these multiple locations. You cannot do that with a mom and pop co-working space. So yeah, I would make less money, but I wanted to provide a product that was equal or better than what's out there. As a product manager, you want to make sure you do that. So that's why I joined a franchise, and now venturex has about 50 some locations, and yeah, and that's that. And I'm
All right, fantastic. So now going back to your experience came into the mix, and your previous role and the role you were in came into the mix. Considering all that, how much was and has been the learning curve since you've started, or since you were almost about to launch? So how has been that learning curve through this journey?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you learn in multiple dimensions. I mean, of course, I learned about the job itself, like the software, to how to run the business, what's the intricacies, the small little things. So you learn all that by making mistakes and making more efficient. Really, I think my experience just made me more efficient and better at the job. But I think from a general perspective that kind of aligns with everyone who may be listening is, I think it helps you. I think one of the big things I learned is, as one of the harder things for me, is to become a leader. Meaning, as a business owner, I'm very much into like, I want to get this done right, so I do it. I'm hands on, right? But it's impossible to grow that way. Like I have no idea how CEOs do it in terms of only having like 10 different businesses, or WeWork, my competition. Well, Adam Newman is not necessarily a good example because he didn't have a successful, but he did, to give him credit, grow so big, right? How do you grow so big? And really, to do that, you need to delegate, and you need to find the right people, and give them autonomy. And I have been learning how to do that, like trying to. I mean, I almost employees. I think in the end of the day, like it's hard to figure, especially with different generations, hard to figure out what motivates them. It's not the money anymore, or it's not the pension or healthcare. I mean, money is always the factor in the back, but that's not what makes them work 100%. So it's like, I mean, to me, I think the way, because I'm still learning that, for me, the way for me to motivate people is not to make them employees, but to make them part owners, like franchise owners. If I do other locations, have them run it, you know. I mean, yes, the upside is they get more money, but I don't, my goal was to have make equal or more money than what I was making in corporate without putting any of my time. And I've already, mashallah, reached that goal, right? But so now any more is just gravy for me. But my goal was to be financially free, meaning like I don't have to put in work if I don't want to. But that's never going to happen. I'm always going to be working. I think I'm never going to retire, even though that sounds nice. Um, but anyway, but go to different locations. I think give that opportunity to other people to let them run theirs, let them kind of fall and guide them and stuff like that. But let them learn and do their things. And yeah, if the upside is they make good money, give them a minimum salary or something, but motivate them. It's kind of like um, like I think there's a saying like you won't learn how to fly if you jump off a cliff with with some kind of, I don't know, it's like a safety net, right? You don't take off the safety net, they'll learn much better, right? Um, so so that's the goal. I think that's what I'm gonna do moving forward, just because I don't know how other CEOs do it like that. Like they just motivate people
Right.
with what is it called, vision and missions and all that fluff stuff.
All the fancy stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So in terms of adding to learning curve, there's always a lot of evolution in terms of in personal capacity, professional capacity. How, looking back, we see April 2018, I believe. Looking back, how has this journey evolved you as not just as a professional, but more importantly as a person? And you mentioned a lot of conversations within the family, and then your wife supporting you while going through different phases. So, how has that evolution been in professional and, more importantly, in personal capacity?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's hard to put it into words. I mean, definitely the professional. We touched into that a little bit.
Mhm.
Personal. I think for me, it's like I've realized that you should fill your life with things that are more important to you first, and then whatever time is remaining, then add the less important things. My life with 24, the most limited thing to me is my time, right? I mean, as a lot of people will say. I mean, even my birthday's coming up. My wife asked what I want for my birthday. I'm like, just help me like with stuff that helps me get more time, kind of thing. That's really it. I mean, we whatever we want, we just go to Amazon or whatever, right? I'm not that materialistic and stuff anyway. So it's really about time, and time is valuable to me. It's the only limited factor for all humans, right? So what do we do with that time is first fill it with, I mean, as a child, you don't really have choices. You have to go to school, do your thing. So I actually like my adult life more because I have the freedom to do what I want to do, fill my time with whatever I want. There's no schedule of go to school, do homework, blah, blah, blah. Now I could just choose what's important to me and let go of the stuff that's not. You'll always miss something. There's always the 80-20 rule. You're not going to be able to do 100%, but do the 80% that's more important, and be okay with the 20% that you're never going to do, right? You're just not going to get there doing all, if you do good in business, you're going to sacrifice your time with your family, vice versa. So know what is, understand yourself and know what's important to you: religion, family, business, money, um, empire, whatever it is, right? Charity. Fill it with those, and then let go of the things that are not as important. So I think from a personal standpoint, I think I'm kind of planned out like what I want to do the rest of my life. I mean, obviously nothing goes as planned, but I'm a planner. I don't plan on retiring ever. It's just I also don't plan on working ever, right? I'm always just gonna be doing what I want to be doing till I'm no more, kind of thing.
Right, right. Okay, so now, kind of a touchy point, and I say touchy because a lot of customers don't realize a lot of things about businesses. I used to be one of those guys, and I
Yeah.
used to be a very review happy guy, but realized, you know what, this is not the way to go. Hence, I started talking to businesses and business owners. So there are always a lot of things that customers will not realize. They just don't have the understanding what pains and what times business owners have to go through, have to put up with. Um, with specific to your industry, your work, what are those few things that you would like or you would appreciate your customers or prospects to understand and appreciate and realize?
So, I think in every business, there's so much adversity, there's competition, there's people that's already in there that's, don't want that additional competition. It's even small things like when I was doing construction, I'm typically a calm guy. I'm always calm. I don't know, there's something wrong with me, but um, I mean, the one time with GCs, general contractors, you kind of have to not be calm to get them to do any work. So when I was doing construction, although I was paying the bills, I was not the big company in on the site, right? So for example, like one time I went on site, there was like 10 people there, all older than me, and then they're like, oh, and I told them even something small like all the bathrooms should have this tile, and they're like, so when they're and that it was the wrong tiles, I'm like, what happened there? And they said, oh, we couldn't find it. We thought it was the lead time was going to be too long. So I asked that guy and he approved it. I'm like, who approved it? So it kind of upset. I'm like, look, everyone just stop working now. I'm not paying any more dollars. No one's approving anything to ask me. Or so eventually I got that tile to be changed, but you kind of have to sometimes push people in that way, so there's those kind of things where they're like, he doesn't have the experience, or um, it's hard for them to understand why this is important to you, why like it's just a tile, but it's a big, I mean, literally I had customers who would come in and say, like when I expanded, my customer, he's like, I want to make sure the tiles you have in the bathroom, the way you design your bathrooms, I want my bathrooms to look exactly like that. Small things like that, people are like, why are you being OCD about it? But it's really those small things that make a business unique, right? um, so I think to be successful in a business, you have to be a little bit OCD, a little bit
A little bit of crazy.
yeah, a little bit crazy. I was trying to find a more positive spin on that, but yeah, you kind of have to be, because your whole thing is you want to provide something unique that others can't, right? I mean, anyone who's successful with something they do it 1,000 times. Like it's kind of to this quote from Bruce Lee. I always use this as an entrepreneur is, and I even tell my son, I have quotes all over my co-working space, but one of them is Bruce Lee says, I'm not afraid of a man who knows 1,000 kicks, but a man who does one kick 1,000 times, right? So to do one kick 1,000 times, you have to be a little crazy, right? And as a business owner, you're providing value because you do it so well, right? Because I mean, I don't go do my accounting work. I think as Daisies, we always like, oh, we'll just do it. Why hire someone? But that person who you hire have done that same job 24/7. You'll never be as good as that person. So yes, he'll cost you money to do the garden or the accounting or the marketing or digital marketing. Yes, you could do your own online marketing, but you will never be as good as the person who's doing it, makes that living out of that. So let him focus. I mean, that's what that's how economy grows, right? We used to do all things ourselves, and now we specialize in things. And so it's not necessarily. I don't know if I answered your question, but it kind of did in a roundabout way. So
All right. No, no, you did. And and I appreciate you are taking the liberty to actually add a few tangents here and there because those are valuable tangents. So I mean, you're spot on. So in terms of every business owner, every entrepreneur has learned over the course of time certain best practices or certain things that, hey, if I were to do this again, and this was the mistake I made, and this is what I learned, more importantly, any of those instances, any of those lessons that you learned along the way, which could have saved you maybe some time if you had to do it over again.
it kind of is what I've mentioned before, kind of touched on this before, is really understanding what you're good at and delegating and finding people to delegate to. You just can't do everything, or you're just going to drive yourself crazy. Um, Honestly, if you give it to someone else, they may not do it as good as you can because you're driven and passionate about it. But if you don't give it to someone else, it'll never get done. So you be okay with the 80-20 rule, get it 80% complete, delegate it to someone. If you find someone who's really passionate and who's really good at it, then yeah, that's great. But if you can always find that person to do the job, and that's okay as well, because there's just so much to do. Just fill your going back to fill your life with what's important. Not, you can't fill it with everything. So
All
um,
right. I love that 80-20. Your interpretation of 80-20, I've heard it in sales context, I've heard
yeah,
it in business context, but this is genuine. This is genius. So I'm going to start using this, and I'm going to start citing you on this. Okay. Uh, Now let's talk about another aspect before moving on to probably details about venturex and if someone wants to come over and start working there. So how do you go about if you've got a customer who's not happy? You're taking care of everything, but Umar Khan, he just comes in, he just had a rough day, and he just is the customer you'd want to get rid of. Of course, you've had instances, but what's the best course of action you would advise that you've learned over the course of time dealing with customers? And this is important because I've seen a lot of business owners from Asian subcontinent not having these mannerisms or this finesse to deal with customers. And that is the reason I'm asking you this question.
yeah. Huh, interesting. I've never been asked that in a podcast or interview, but it's a good question. So I think, you always want to keep your customers, right, as a business owner. But again, the 80-20 rule, your 20% of your customers give you 80% of the profit, and vice versa. 80% of your time goes to the 20% of the sum of customers, right? 80% of your time does. Um, so yeah, so what do you do with those 20% of customers who most of your time goes to? And in my business, one of the positive things for customers is they could come directly to me, and it's not like corporate. It's like, oh, you had something wrong in your billing, let me send it to corporate. I mean, you'll see so many complaints about that with other competitors, right? Like where they send it to their corporate for issues, and it comes back 3 months later with a yes or no response, and then it takes another month or so. Whereas in my business, they come literally to my office anytime, right? I mean, have glass walls, so they know when I'm in the office. And then I have to deal with it. I can't say, oh, let me check with someone else. It stops with me, right? So I have to find a solution always. Like if the temperature's not working, or if the people share like the temperature controller, or if someone's meeting rooms or whatever, or the conference room Zoom meeting is not working, me or my employees have to do it. But it ends, it stops with me. I can't say, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, that cannot be the answer. So that's always a little bit of a pressure, but is also a good thing for the customer. um, but and then I always, it's hard for me when I'm going back. I kind of always want to provide value for the money that they're paying. I want them to know and feel like what they're paying for is what they're getting, or better. So when someone has a complaint, regardless of their mindset, it could be that they're just having a bad day. um, you obviously always listen to them. I mean, I'm generally just calm anyway, but I always listen to what their problems are, like what is the meat or the core of their problem, like what, and see if I could first solve that before I even try to defend the business or what we did right or wrong. I just want to make his life simpler, right? I mean, that's my job as a business owner. Is like, what's your problem? How can we fix it? How can we help with that? Even with COVID, if you have financial problems or whatever, just what's your frustration and how we can help, or how I know somebody who can help you with that. Um, and yeah, let's say if you do make a mistake, we resolve it. But what if you can't resolve it and there is no solution? It's too late. In those cases, you do. you just accept that what you did shouldn't have been done. I guess I'm trying to speak in general terms because it could be your fault, it could be someone else's fault, it could be your employee's fault, but you have to take responsibility. All you can do at that point is apologize and make sure at the end of it that you feel like if you were in their shoes, they came out with a fair solution. Like you give them some kind of compensation. If you're a restaurant owner, give them free lunch or whatever it is, right? But like if you were in their shoes, what would make them feel better with this whole transaction? It's all about the long-term relationship. Um, so that's I think in any business that applies, right? You just focus on the long-term relationship. Don't worry about the money part. Add value, and the money will come, kind of thing.
Perfect. Yes. And see, you say it again, and I say it again because almost everyone I've spoken with has mentioned empathy. And time and again, we hear this empathy, be empathetic, and still we hear stories. But then again, that's what makes us human. So now coming to venturex, so you mentioned, so where are your locations? If whoever's listening, watching, they have been thinking of, but they just didn't think this was the place for them, and now listening to our conversation, maybe someone wants to. So what locations are there? Where are they? Would you like to tell us something about those? You did touch base on them briefly, but now let's talk about your specific
Sure.
spaces.
So yeah, no, I'd love to have, if you guys want to even just try it out or just come have coffee or whatever, just use it as a Starbucks for a day or something, you're more than welcome. Would love to meet you guys. My original location is in the Galleria area. It's, you could, I will give you my email if you have any questions, but it's nadim.ahmed at venturex.com. So Nadim, Nadim Ahmed, Ahmed at venturex.com. And then as far as so there's my one location is by the Galleria. I'm looking at expansion around that area since my current one is full. There's another location that I've partnered up with in kind of Parker and 75 as well. So it's like right next to that Costco and 75 and Parker. So 75 and George Bush area. There's another location there that we have as well. Also very nice. So yeah, any of these locations, I have staff in the Plano location, and then I myself am at the Galleria location. So yeah, I would love to meet you guys there.
Now, thank you, Nadim, for the details. And I have been a big fan of reviews and Google reviews. And if you want to look up the address Nadim mentioned, he currently has a 4.7 rating. And if you've read up on Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, Google reviews, based on the sheer number, sheer volume, and the customer preference, Google reviews is what I've seen is beats Facebook and Yelp. So any company, any business that has 4.7 with over 50 reviews, and all those reviews being the newest reviews, you have got to check that place out. So, and what's so good about this is if there is an adverse review, how business responds to it. Any thoughts on that, Nadim?
Yeah, so I do agree with you. Definitely, the Google reviews, I think it's very important for any business. I think that's more important than Yelp and Facebook from marketing standpoint. So really do focus on your Google reviews. That goes a long way for sure. So we have a 4.7, but trying to always do better. I think there was two bad reviews that I'm still like crazy. It annoys me still because I got two bad reviews, and then the rest are fairly good, 4 or 5. Or there was one review about like the noise level. They had an event. There was noise level things you couldn't control. So I'm okay about those. And those are I got like a 3 out of 5, which is okay. But there was two that that one was an employee that I did not hire. Like it was a person I did not hire, and then the other, which is a long story, but I'll leave that for another time. And then the other was a complaint about a business that's inside my business, right? So that business did something to the customers, but because their business housed out of our place, they just put the review in our thing, and you can't really do anything about that. So those are the two that kind of annoys me, because I got like a 0 or 1 star out of it. But it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you provide value to your customers, you'll get good reviews. So.
All right, awesome. Yes, I mean, you control the stuff that you can control, and you just move on from the stuff which is out of your control. I guess going back to your 80-20, it's a great spin on that. So, okay, coming back, I've loved this conversation, man. I'll be very honest. So, to wrap it up, any parting thoughts, especially anything to anyone who might be listening? Could be a customer, it could be a prospect looking to start their own co-working space. Maybe they had never thought of a co-working business, but now they do, or anyone who might be watching or listening.
Sure. So, I had mentioned earlier about that other quote, the Bruce Lee quote about focus on what you're good at and do it 1,000 times. But before that, I think it's important for us to first figure out what we're passionate about or what we're good at, right? Especially in the Daisy community, we can't all be doctors. We cannot all be engineers. I mean, that's impossible. That Allah designed us all to be like that, right? I mean, even as an entrepreneur, I have friends like, hey, I want to get into business, but I don't know if that's the right thing for you. Just like for me to be a doctor, I would be a horrible doctor. I just don't care about health, really, but anyway. Or blood. I don't want any of that. So it really depends on the person. Understand what is it that makes you happy? What is it that you want to do before you get into that business? Because you're gonna have to do that 1,000 times and be better than everyone out there to provide value. So quote to go with that is Einstein is also in my wall. Is if you teach a fish how to climb a tree, it will grow up its entire life thinking it's stupid. So kind of figure out what you want to do, right? I mean, and once you figure that out, then, and the hard part is even at, at 30s, age of 30s, you're still trying to figure out who you are and what drives you and things like that. So you're always kind of figuring it out. But the people who are lucky and figure it out early, like Tiger Woods or all these like professional players who just know that this is what I'm going to do, and they do it 1,000 times, they're lucky and they've excelled in their careers. But for the rest of us, just try to figure out what you're good at and just do that really well. And then that will actually, by that you will provide good to the world, and in return you will get money out of it. So don't go after the money. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, I got into business to be a millionaire, to get a Lamborghini or to get a yacht. It's like, I've never had a number in my mind like that. I mean, I want my family to be comfortable, go to good schools, blah, 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 all this typical stuff. But it's like when you provide a good business with good value, the money will come. So don't go after the money, because then you're just thinking about yourself. You're not thinking externally about the customers that are going to be paying you. And I think that's also the way to look at just life, is like, focus on what you're good at and provide that to the world. If it's, with so much going on right now in the world with Palestine or just to a lot of people, even just a lot of things, just figure out what can you provide to put out to the world to help the world to make it a better place. And if money is what drives you, money will come from you providing that value. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hey, short and sweet, absolutely right on the money. All right, thank you, Nadim, for the encouraging words and the truth, really. And for those of you who are fond of Google and but have not Googled the address yet, it is 5301 Alpha Road, Suite 80, Dallas 75240, and it is venturex Dallas by the Galleria. Do check him out. Nadim Ahmed, he also dropped the email. Please do write to him. Spend a day, spend some time, get to know him, and see if you guys are a good fit to establish that partnership for whatever time you want to spend there. And maybe you are going to end up referring more family and friends to him, because one thing I do know is that, and probably by the conversation you have experienced, and he said it himself, he's a very calm guy. And that demeanor does show. So give businesses a chance. If you know someone or if you've heard about them, give them a chance and then make a decision on how you want to go about it, because most of the business owners, there's always a reason they start their business. Most of them keep that reason in mind, which helps them deliver that signature experience. And that was the reason I wanted to have Nadim over. So thank you very much, Nadim, for a fantastic conversation, and wish you all the best, and hopefully you have more success and more customers, more happy customers, and you have a fantastic rest of the day, man.
Thank you so much for having me, and you've been a great host. Thank you, Umar.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you. All right, people, thank you for watching. I hope you took some good nuggets out of this conversation. There were some best practices Nadim shared. And if you have any questions, please comment, email deliveringtheexperience@gmail.com. Your comments, feedback, concerns, even if you don't like anything, I would love to hear from you, because it is only that feedback that helps even me improve. If I don't learn anything from this experience and I just do the same thing, there's no point in me doing it. So if there is something for me to work on, please let me know, because I know there is no point as perfection. So with that thought, take very good care of your customers, because word of mouth beats any kind of expense there could be. Till next, take care.